Hello and welcome to a speculation video. Facts are not to be found within, aside from reference material from interviews. Remember, there are no incorrect guesses until the veil of surprise has been lifted, or something like that. So Monster Hunter World is getting a crossover event with Final Fantasy XIV. That much you should know, unless you missed the hundreds of videos and features written on practically every games media outlet on the internet worth their salt of recent. Speculation then. We know that both games are getting these events. Monster Hunter World is getting the behemoth monster to fight in that game, and we are in turn getting a Rathalos dragon to fight in our own. We know so far from the many interviews game director Naoki Yoshida has had since and during E3 2018 that for Final Fantasy XIV you'll need to be level 70 in this game and have completed the Stormblood main scenario questline to take part in the Monster Hunter event. We also know from both the live letter taking place at E3 and from the various other interviews that they didn't want either game to have a one-off event like they did with the Dragon Quest events, etc., and actually wanted to incorporate content into the game that could be rewarding and difficult to respect both intellectual properties that both Square Enix and Capcom own respectively. It comes as no surprise then that when questions are dug into them during various interviews, such as the one with VG247 for example, that Yoshi P confirms that the, and I quote, development team are thinking about what we can provide to motivate players to come back and defeat Rathalos several dozen times. I'm sure people are already making speculation online about what that might be. Please continue to speculate and imagine what might come out of it. End quote. It was hinted then in other interviews to be more permanent, and the idea here of coming back again and again points towards a trial of some sort. You wouldn't be too far off from guessing that, I would imagine, or at least that would be my guess. And judging by the area that we saw in the trailer, it'll probably take place in either a Bardam's Metal style dungeon or somewhere in the Azim Steppe, definitely what appears to be an instanced area. So after being in talks about this collaboration for over 7 years with Naoki Yoshida and Ryozo Tsujimoto spending a lot of time whilst Yoshida worked on the Dragon Quest team, they would drink and talk after work about the idea to collaborate in Final Fantasy XIV's recreation after 1.0's failure. Capcom even offered to help Square Enix at the time to remake Final Fantasy XIV with Square Enix alongside Capcom, which didn't end up happening as we know, but a collaboration has been on the table for 8 years or so since that point, eventually culminating into this project we see today. So if it was to be a trial, players would no doubt expect a decent reward. As Yoshida says, it would be important to make people want to come back again and again to that content. Perhaps then, since it's releasing in summer this year, we could have right side item level 370 or more pieces and offer some kind of mount as a reward. Those would certainly offer the usual reward schemes that go with trial updates to the game, along with the obvious quest lines that are bound to exist for this, and hopefully a whole bunch of cosmetic rewards, hopefully a normal and an extreme version of this trial, if it indeed ends up being one. I for one would love to see a Palico minion personally, or even a set of Palico minions from the Monster Hunter universe. In the trailer for the event you can see players drinking and performing an emote at the end of the video. Emotes again could be a good reward as well for Final Fantasy XIV. Monster Hunter has a ton of those from their online interactions, and many of them quite unique and stand out. Tabletop items such as a roasting spit would be an amazing idea, for example. There are so many things that would translate wonderfully into our game from Monster Hunter. In terms of Monster Hunter World, since they want Behemoth to be an important, difficult, and ultimately rewarding challenge in that game for players, probably in the high Hunter rank levels to give the fight justice, from the trailer alone you can see what appears to be a giant crystal inside the player housing area. And finally a scene with the Cactuar, which will likely be a creature to add to your housing decorations as well. It would be cool though, for example, to get themed Palico sets. There will almost definitely be a Behemoth player set for Monster Hunter World, and likely a Palico Behemoth set as well. but it could be nice to see a Cactuar set or Chocobo and Moogle themed sets for a Palico to dress in, just to stir up that hilarity a little bit more. Uniquely, both of these franchises in particular, Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy, aren't afraid of having a joke at their own expense occasionally, so this could be a really wonderful opportunity to let loose. There could be endless possibilities, but I'm trying to stay grounded based on things we've seen in the game before from previous events. What things could you imagine in either Gamers Rewards from this cross event, which at this point seems to be much more than a one-time thing if we can go off of what's said in interviews? Let me know below, and I'll see you all next time.